Action.
Beautiful. Good evening. Here we go. TLT 2. I am Brendan McGinnis. Mac. This direction, actually, you said it. We're going to go meet the Adams. To the right, Michael Bedient, Mac and Beads, Tackling Life Together, episode 2. Welcome back, buddy.
What's going on? How's the weekend?
Weekend, not too bad, man. Not too bad. I'm excited for this weekend. We got Province College first basketball thing. We got One Republic coming to the Amica Pavilion. Big
That's not bad.
Getting back into work, but last weekend wasn't too bad. And what'd you do last week? You were helping Pops move in?
Yeah, my dad loves moving, so I had to help him fill a U-Haul truck with a bunch of crap. No, it's fine. I probably owe him a couple of U-Hauls from all the stuff he did for me. But yeah, that was kind of what I did. I started a new job this week. That's punk rock. So that was cool. We've been talking about it. Bren, we need some sort of song to like roll into these episodes. I feel like all great podcasts start with some sort of intro song, and we would love to hear it from people listening. We were thinking to kind of circumvent copyright rules. What if we just sang our way in, right? Like, what if one of the two of us just really went for it, right? Closed their eyes and just belted a song. A, no copyright laws. And B, maybe we find a new talent.
Mike was singing for multiple minutes leading up to this. Some good ones. We do have some good ideas too. Some sort of, we go Phil Collins, we go with the Titanic song. I think it'd be entertaining as hell. I got in trouble on the first run through with 3-Step Podcast. I even made like a remixed version of Joker and the Thief, and then YouTube like came after.
You created a remix version of Joker.
No. There was a remix version. So I was like, somebody else already did the work. YouTube can't touch me, and they're pretty keen. But if we sing, like, what are they going to do?
You know, it'd be really fun, but obnoxious. A goal horn, really wake the viewers up. You know what I mean? Just, like real loud, right there in people's ears.
Or like the tornado siren.
Yeah, or like a cannon.
We'll come up with something. That's been our biggest difficulty in 2 weeks. Has been figuring out just how.
It's awkward. It's a cold open. We just go from nothing to all right. Screw it. We ball. So that can be the hardest thing.
Good afternoon, family and friends.
But yeah, I'm excited to kick off episode 2 with you. Just to kind of let the people know what's going on. We want to say thank you to anyone who listened to the first episode and is back here listening. We really appreciate it. We heard some great stuff from family, friends, loved ones. Some important people out there letting us know that they had listened and, giving us your advice, what you thought, good, bad, in between. We take all feedback, so please let us have it. We know there's things that we could improve on with this, little technical things, or even just content-wise, like, hey, maybe you guys talk about this longer or less, this, that. So we would just want to say big shout-out thank you to anybody who listened. We love you. We wanted to kind of talk about, sort of the mission of this podcast is really just two guys spilling ball talk, but also like a lot of life talk, right? Like we talked in the first episode about wanting to talk about more serious real life convos, right? Whatever you want to call it. Those convos are going to happen best and more genuinely, in my opinion, when we interview people. So I think once we have people to speak to, I think that's where those kind of curious conversations can happen, right? Like you're not going to have good conversations and learn things without wanting to be curious, understand where people are coming from. So that's where I think a lot of that's going to come from. So if anybody out there, I know I heard it from 1 or 2 people like, hey, you guys mentioned this and then you talked football X's and O's for an hour and a half straight. Yes, we're capable of that stuff. And we will do it from time to time. Hour and a half won't happen again. So we apologize. But if you listen to the whole thing, we probably owe you like $1 or something. But good job. Because that's a long, girthy pod. But this one's going to be a little shorter. Focus mostly on college football because we had a great slate of games last week. And then we're going to interview our first guest. I'm going to tease that little, my hero, Mike Greenberg teaser, right? You got to stick around till after the break to hear who we're going to be interviewing for our first interview. But before we get going with a little college football talk, Bren, I know there was some news, something that kind of happened that you wanted to make sure you addressed before we started anything. I'm going to kick it back to you.
Yeah, no, I'm pumped up. We'll definitely get in. We're going to talk a little mental health later on and kind of get into some stuff with our first guest. Great tease. But yeah, so this past week was a pretty significant loss for college football, and then kind of close to my heart as well. So the Dartmouth head football coach Buddy Teevens passed away this last week. He's only 66 years old, and for people that are not super close to me, was at one point committed to Dartmouth College, and kind of, Coach Teevens was just one of the most incredible people that I've kind of come across, and just had, a profound impact. Even when he passed away, my girlfriend was like she had come on some visits, and was in my living room talking to my mom and dad, and he was former head coach at Stanford University, Tulane University, so big time serious football mind. Just so far ahead of his time, kind of revolutionized, created these tackling dummies that were robotic. He was on Jimmy Kimmel, I think, a bunch of years ago, and then
those things are awesome.
Yeah, super cool. And then really was the first kind of champion for getting female coaches into football, and he hired the first female assistant coach in the history of college football. And I think we were watching it before this. Rich Eisen had mentioned two of his original staffers are now coaching in the NFL. Two of the first female staffers in the NFL. But Coach Teevens, just incredible dude. Actually got two little, so we kind of knew, me and my dad I probably went up there a dozen times over junior into kind of late senior year. And it was like just the kind of impact he had on his program, and kind of the love that he showed for his kids. Like, dude, we'd be walking down the hallway, like, at the time wasn't committed even when this happened, but like, you just pass a kids, I don't know, third tight end, fourth outside linebacker, I have no idea, but like, you'd pass someone and be like, hey, how's it going? Like, everyone is stopping to say hello to you. Like, he just had this infectious personality, and even to end up going to Merrimack when things kind of devolve. We talk about it eventually, but was committed there for 2 months or so, and had the voicemail from him. I'll never forget. I kept it for a while. Where Coach Teevens was like, hey Brennan, congratulations to you and your family. We can't wait to have you as part of the Big Green. But so was a Merrimack student. 2 years later, went back to see them play Harvard up in Dartmouth, and kind of stuck around after the game, wanted to go over to the tunnel. Has no business, remembering me or anything, but came right over. They won the game by 7, something like that, but came right over before we walked into the practice bubble. I was like, hey, Brendan, how's it going? But just kind of, Coach T was a special guy. I know he touched a lot of people in the football community, and particularly in my family, despite never getting to play for him. But he was really a guy that, that saw something in me, and our thoughts go out to his wife and his family, and the Dartmouth football family. And he was a hell of an athlete too. He won Ivy League Player of the Year. He played quarterback there actually in the 80s.
Let's go.
Coach T was a dog, man. So that was a tough loss this week for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Our condolences out to the family. Profound impact on the game. You can hear it in a lot of people. And if you have a second, we're going to repost on our Instagram the video of Rich Eisen talking about it. And it's pretty clear the impact he's had. It's not even just calling him a college football or a local Dartmouth impact. This is like football across the board impact. So we just wanted to make sure we took a second, gave a special shout out to Buddy Teevens. So moving on from that, we're just going to kind of keep speaking in the college football realm. Bren, phenomenal weekend of college football. I mean, first thoughts, anything stand out to you? I personally sat on the couch. I woke up early. I got my stuff done for the day. And then it was Florida State and Clemson, right into the Ole Miss, Alabama, into Colorado, Oregon. And then I went over down the street to my buddy DJ's house. Him and his roommates and me and all the guys were just watching the Ohio State game. And it was fun because a couple of them threw a little bit of money down on Ohio State. So they had, reason to brag with me, right, and get excited. I nearly had a heart attack until the end of the game. But it was a big one. But any first initial thoughts, takeaways from this big weekend?
A lot of huge matchups. I like when we start to get into the bulk of the conference schedule where you get really big programs going against each other. I missed some of the afternoon action. I went over and saw our high school, Wyndham, played Salem.
Nice. How'd the boys do?
Good. Should have won the game. Ended up losing by 7. 4th and 16, can't rough the punter. I mean,
No,
no,
you
they end
can't.
up roughing the punter right before half. Ends up being a
Oh,
tie game at half. End up losing by 7. That'll be all she wrote. But so didn't get to watch a lot of Florida State. Really, really liked that team. Caught the end of Alabama. Man, I love Bama, but I'm not sure that this team's good enough to. They might go like 11-1 this year, but when they go play Georgia,
why don't we just start right there? Honestly, I know we have a little order, a little behind the scenes for the people at home. We have an order, actually. There is a little bit of chaos here. This feels like a podcast between two guys who forgot a pencil to math class, but no, we have a sheet with a little of an agenda order. And Ole Miss Bama was number 2, but we're going to make it number 1. Brent, I genuinely thought we were going to watch another one of those weird early season Alabama losses to Ole Miss. And in my head, I kept thinking like, oh shit, dude, this is going to be a second loss if this happens. No offense, but that's like in the world that we live in now, that's like a death sentence almost. Like it is hard to make the college football playoff with the 2-loss world, right? Actually, has anybody even done it? Do we know? It feels like something that hasn't been done yet. If you win your conference, you're in. And if Alabama had that second loss, they probably weren't going to end up making the college football playoff. But Jalen Milroe threw a bomb, nice little dime there. And you guys really took it to him. But Jackson Dart looked pretty legitimate in the beginning. I mean, you're a quarterback. What's your opinions there? The 2 quarterbacks, we got 2 athletic, mobile quarterbacks, but can also kind of sling the rock.
I really like Jackson. I was high on Jackson Dart coming out of USC, transferred over. I really liked him. I got to go down and watch Ole Miss live last year too. I think he's pretty accurate. Probably not even the best offense for him. Like you said, he's running a lot because Lane Kiffin wants it, but probably not the best runner, but he's looked really good. He like 150 yards the week before. Alabama, I'm excited to see Jalen Milroe back in the driver's seat. For the first time since I was a kid rooting for Bama, I like spite rooted against them the week before against South Florida. Just because I thought they pulled the rope on Milroe a little bit early. You lose to Texas and then you lose your job. That doesn't quite.
Well, did you hear the reasoning that Saban gave about how he said he promised everybody snaps? What is this? JV football? Come on, bro.
That's like youth football NPR. Like we got to make sure Johnny gets his 8 plays. Like no offense to Tyler Buchner, just wasn't a productive player at Notre Dame. I don't know what he's going to do for a team that's trying to go make the national playoffs at Bama. Jalen Milroe is your best athlete. And honestly, I think, I don't remember who I saw, somebody from Pro Football Focus talking about it, but they looked like a dejected team when they played South Florida, where you can almost tell that the locker room believes in Jalen, where like when they took that chance away from him, the team kind of responded. So, I mean, Nick's got no choice. They got to lean in, got to play the kid. Shout out to Hey Dude. He's a Hey Dude. He's got to deal with Riley and Elizabeth's company. But he, he's a good leader, really good athlete. He's only a sophomore too. Which will be interesting to see how that plays out next year with the 5-star kid they have sitting. But we'll see with Bama. I don't know. Like that score 24-10. I'm not sure it's enough to get where you want to go at the end of the year. And I thought Oregon, Colorado was the craziest game of the weekend. I mean,
that's fair. I mean, that Ole Miss game, I really thought they had it, but it's one of those things where I feel like across 4 quarters, the offensive line, it's really the line of scrimmage that really dictates sometimes these upsets. Like you need your linemen to come out and play. And after a while, Bama's linemen just ended up being too much on both sides of the ball, defense and offense. You look at the rushing yards, Ole Miss was only able to get 56. You were talking about Jackson Dart's impressive legs the week before, and he only had 12 carries for 6 yards this week against Alabama. At the end of the day, if you can't run the ball, it does end up being a little tough. That's where you need that Hugh Freeze Ole Miss magic, where Laquan Treadwell catches a bounced ball in the 15 yards away and takes it for 6, or Johnny Manziel running around and dodging 12 guys and throwing a touchdown. Otherwise, it's tough to just man up, like smash mouth, I'm stronger, cross the ball than you, and we're going to take you. Alabama really taking it to him, almost outrushed them by 100 yards. But you brought up that Colorado-Oregon game, and again, making my point for me moving into this next game. Oregon, for all the things people talked about before the game, Travis Hunter's not playing. He's the best corner in the nation. He might be the best corner that we've seen in a while, right? Maybe like one of the best corner prospects we've literally seen since like Patrick Peterson. Well, the throwing the ball isn't really what killed Colorado. I mean, they didn't do well stopping Bo Nix in the past. They left 240 rushing yards on them. Oregon was running at will on them. I mean, it was everything, right? You can't just say passing was good, right? Colorado's defense was bad on all sides of the ball, but genuinely, they could not stop the run to save their lives. Everyone on Oregon had like over 5.6, 7 yards per carry sort of thing. That's just way too much. That can't happen.
They at time, I know I'm really high on Colorado still, at least in terms of playing over expectations from the beginning of the year, but they at times look like a team that is filled with Band-Aids. Like we talked, like 51 transfers. Like as much as you might like the product on the field at times, it's a lot of patchwork right now where they're trying to fix. They just looked smaller than Oregon. Like I'm not sure I've ever said that about Oregon. I know they recruit at a high level, but
they've always been known as more of a speed finesse team, never a, we're going to outpower you team. That's kind of always been the MO. That's why Stanford used to always take those teams back in the day with Chip Kelly and whatnot, because people would say like, well, we're stronger than you, even if you're fast.
Yeah. So they just pounded the ball downhill. And I mean, every time they would cut to downfield levels, like every single Oregon player was towering over. I mean, we'll see how Colorado does the rest. They got USC this weekend. So you know what? Shout out to Travis Hunter. I don't know if you saw. Did you see him get together with the kid that injured him?
Yeah, I did see that. Very nice.
That was fantastic. He's funny, man. He was like, I know you guys want to see negativity, but it's all love here. But it's all love. It was good to see Trav kind of. I think that's good for the Colorado State kid too. I'm sure he's been getting some. He's been on the wrong end of the social media storm, I would almost guarantee, since that hit. So
no doubt.
That kind of. But what about your boys, man? That's a marquee win up until the Penn State game coming up in a few weeks. 17-14 Ohio State, Notre Dame. Big takeaway.
About that professional heart attack I watched on TV. The Ohio State game was wonderfully frustrating. Our Ohio State group chat that we have, you, me, Whitehead, Coop, Joe. Very random too, because really it's like I know me and Whitehead are big Ohio State fans, and Coop kind of just roots for Ohio State too. But you're a Bama fan, and Joe's like a Penn State fan, but he's just in the group.
Football fan.
Fair, and Joe's a talent fan, so he's just in there too, mostly just to make fun of Kyle McCord, but kind of fairly. And I was screaming at Kyle McCord on the TV. There are some moments where he doesn't look like the guy. But I have to keep reminding myself that, like, hey, not everyone's going to be CJ Stroud, right? That's like a peak for quarterbacks. I was pretty frustrated with the play calling all day by Ryan Day. There was some baffling play calls going on. I didn't understand what we were doing. And then, of course, just my luck, Marvin Harrison gets injured. And we wonder, is this going to be a Jackson Smith and Jigba thing all over again, where now he's out for most of the year and we have to play without our dominant X receiver? He comes back. He plays fine. I think he caught one more ball from there on, but Emeka Ibuka, a future top 15 pick, showed out why he's one of the best players in the nation. Travion Henderson had a great game, 14 carries, 104 and a touchdown. But Ryan Day, dude, he's starting to make me mad. I mean, people call him born on third base day because he was just brought in with this Urban Meyer unbelievable team. And I feel that. And I just never wanted to say that because for a lot of reasons, I think you probably can sympathize with some of these. Ryan Day is one of our guys. That's a New Hampshire guy, right? Like he's born in Manchester. He played at UNH. Yeah, dude, he coached at UNH too. And now Ohio State just announced they're going to be playing UNH. For anyone who didn't see this, Ohio State's going to be playing UNH in 2027. UNH coming to the Horseshoe. How great would it be if it was vice versa? If Ohio State's 100,000 fans showed up to Durham.
I'm pumped up about that because I think, and you know what, actually we'll end up talking about it later, but I believe that Ryan Day was there when Ricky Santos was playing quarterback. The head coach at UNH now won 2 conference titles, went to the playoffs with UNH. I kind of grew up literally like idolized, and it was like, man, when I had the opportunity to go work for Ricky, it was like, hell yeah, man. Yeah. Assistant quarterbacks with so I wonder if that was kind of how I wonder how much UNH is getting paid for that one. Oh, UNH is 600 plus. I would almost guarantee.
Ohio State's known for paying out well to the teams that they ask to come play these games that they're lopsided favorites for, which is very generous of the Ohio State University. Very pompous.
They were the first. I think we were going to talk about it last week. They were the first team to pay out $1 million for a pay game. I think they paid the Naval Academy like $1 million and back in 2011. And look at us.
Giving, I actually remember watching that game. But because that was a close game. I think it was a little earlier than 2011. There was a great time where I was in line to get Tony Dorsett's autograph, and I was watching Ohio State run a close one to Navy. That's a super random story, but it just popped in my head. It's real, though.
Where were you getting an autograph from Tony Dorsett?
Yeah, I was like, oh, God. I lived in Connecticut at the time. I had to have been like 2008, 2009. And I was just going to the bathroom, and we had like a little basket of like magazines and newspapers back before the iPhone. Crazy world. And I was just reading the Connecticut Post sports section because I like to keep up with the high school football and see, like, is Greenwich the best team this year? Is it Hill House? Is it like, Darien, whatever, fuck. And I started looking at this ad that says Tony Dorsett will be at blank blank auto in this town signing autographs. And I was like, I know that name. Wait a second. Is this real? I start checking the dates on the newspaper, and I'm like, holy crap, this is coming up in a couple of weeks. So I ran out of the bathroom, went to my dad, and I was like, dude, look, Tony Dorsett's going to be signing autographs. So we went. We were the last people in line. Must have sat in line for like 2 hours. By the time we got all the way up there, I was like, Dad, the Ohio State game's on. And we just kept watching it in the corner on this little tiny dealership TV. And we were the last people to walk up there. Tony was really nice. I think he must have had like arthritis in his hand by the time he was done signing everything. But he signed a picture and a football for me. So I got the picture, actually. It's by my bedside table. I'm not sure if that's going on the Hinge profile, but yeah, it's just sitting by the bedside table over there. Tony Dorsett, Hall of Famer, number 33, Heisman winner, 1977 at Pittsburgh. I think it's 77. I hope I'm not quoted wrong. But yeah, but back to this Ohio State game. Just last things, like I was yelling at Kyle all game, and I'd love to hear your take on what you think truly objectively. Feel free to be honest, what Kyle McCord is as a quarterback. But what I will say is when the going got tough and we needed one drive to win the damn game, on a 3rd and long, he made a dart throw to Emeka Egbuka on a seam route from the slot. And I swear he almost won the game for us, but it was an inch short. And then, of course, we correctly run a rollout play. Players, not plays in the red zone, right? Players, not plays. Go to your best players. We tried to throw a little slip play to Marvin. Didn't work. And then we just hand it off. And we score, and then we find out there's only 10 men on the field. I
didn't think he scored. I thought he was short.
No, I think he was in. I don't think he was short. I think the ball crossed the line, but only because the rule is we just need the tip of the ball to cross the front edge of the white. If it was for any other style of rule, we don't get it, but we got it because of that. And having 10 men on the field was really helpful. But I cannot describe to you the wave of emotions I felt in a 1-minute period right there. But what's your take on Kyle? This guy, Kyle McCord, right? He's handed the keys to the kingdom, and he frustrates me.
I hesitate because it's supposed to be, for the most part, I don't think I'm ever going to meet Kyle, so I don't feel bad. But it's supposed to be kind of a fraternity. Like typically on this podcast, you will not catch me like rashing quarterbacks a whole lot. I don't know, man. Even that play to Emeka Egbuka at the end, like, I'm not sure he has the strongest. He definitely does not have the strongest arm, I should say. Like, I'm hoping for him that he can continue to just make big plays like that, because I don't think that physically he is elite enough or has elite traits to get Ohio State where they want to this year. Could he have better intangibles and kind of competitiveness than I think and have learned of him? Sure. I kind of was expecting him to dispatch some of those guys in the quarterback competition a little bit earlier. And that kind of ties into it. I'm not sure what took so long for the coaches to kind of establish that he was the guy. I'm hoping for Ohio State he is the guy. I have a lot of questions like you do when I watch him. I'm not really impressed with the way the ball jumps out of his hand at times. And even that last throw, like, he fit it into a nice window. Emeka Egbuka kind of settles the route down in the hole right before the safety, and he can put it on him. But, like, I'm fascinated if it's a little bit different of a scenario, if that throws a little bit further and he's got to put a little bit more something on it. Is it the same? Like, go back and watch it. Like, there's a little bit of a drop in there to it, which is incredibly impressive. And that's the biggest moment of his college career. So we shouldn't be sitting here taking away from it, but
yeah, good on him. I mean, he definitely played well. And I mean, I guess you could say he outdueled Sam Hartman, although I felt like Hartman looked a little more calm, cool, and collected the whole game. But Ohio State's defense felt better than what Notre Dame's. It felt like Ohio State's offense was shooting itself in the foot versus where Notre Dame's offense was playing well. They were running the football well. Audric Estime was 5 yards a carry, but it just felt like our defense was enough to hold them, if that makes sense, right? It wasn't that their offense wasn't doing enough. Their offense almost iced the game, but JT Tuilamulier tipped a screen pass that was going to send Estime on an 80-yard touchdown. I think it was Estime. Maybe it was the backup Love, but it was wide open to be an 80-yard touchdown. And I will say, last point on the Ohio State game, great win by the Buckeyes. And I love Ryan Day yelling at Lou Holtz, an 80-year-old man, right after the game, just screaming nonsense. But
it's always been Ohio versus everybody.
Yeah, right. You got to love a chip on your shoulder mentality, I guess. A win's a win, and a tough win in South Bend. So I'm excited to see what the Buckeyes can do next in their biggest next game against Penn State. It's going to be at home, but you know, everybody knows their path to the playoff, right? You know which teams you have to beat. You got to beat the regular teams, but you also got to show up and beat the Penn State. You got to go to the Big House and beat Michigan if you want to make a playoff. But yeah, so. Honestly, great weekend of college football. Those aren't the only exciting games. Just running through a couple more real quick as we're going here. Obviously, we didn't touch on it too long. Clemson, FSU, Jordan Travis looked pretty solid, and his two receivers, Keon Coleman and Johnny Wilson. If you haven't seen Johnny Wilson play, guys, he's a 6'7" receiver that you want on your pro football team. He's huge. It's going to be impossible to miss him. He would help a lot of teams out right now. Jared Verse looked solid, but so did Clemson. Clemson's defense, Jeremiah Trotter, they have this freshman D end. I'm blanking on his name, but he was electric. So I don't think Clemson's completely out of it. Again, even if I have a sort of disdain for Dabo in the program because of the Ohio State-Clemson rivalry, but Florida State took Clemson 31-24. Couple other quick ones. Number one in the nation, Georgia hands UAB a 49-21 loss, although come on, Georgia defense letting UAB score 21, it's a bit much. Michigan keeps up their patty cake schedule, beating Rutgers 31-7 at home. Granted, they didn't schedule that was the Big Ten, but whatever. Texas 38-6. Did you get to see any of that Texas game? Because Quinn Ewers is continuing to make me think he deserves to be in the Pennix Caleb Williams convo, but I think he's almost going to be better if he's left out, so that way Texas is talked about less.
Yeah.
Dude, the kid's electric. Yeah, he ran a 30-yarder, 40-yarder into the end zone at one point. It was awesome. He just showed off a little bit of legs, a little pocket awareness. USC struggled with Arizona State a little bit in one of the nightcap games. Freaking Pac-12 football. Game didn't start till 10:30. Come on. I want to go to bed. But not really. It was Saturday, so I didn't want to go to bed.
I think they're similar. They're back in Arizona this week against the Wildcats in another late window.
That won't be the world's easiest game, but yeah, USC beats Arizona State 42-28. Caleb Williams looks every ounce of the best quarterback. USC's defense looks every ounce of a Lane Kiffin USC defense. Lane Kiffin, Lincoln Riley. I think I did that last week too, calling Lincoln Riley Lane Kiffin. Penn State, sneaky, really good team. We said it last week. If you're not watching Penn State, watch Penn State. Drew Aller is going to be the number one pick in 2025. They beat Iowa 31-0, proving that Cade McNamara and Iowa have no ability. Brian Ferentz and his son have no ability to throw, run, move a football in any direction forward. It's never going to happen. And Caleb Pennix dropped the beauty of a game, putting up 59 for Washington. Their defense, a little scary, 32, but hey, that's Pac-12 football, baby. No one plays D. It's just like the Big 12. And quick shout out to Drake May. He had a pass that he threw left-handed for a touchdown. Unbelievable stuff. Hopefully we can find a way to clip that or just repost it on our Instagram. But Drake May, future game changer in the NFL, 22 of 30 for 296 and a touchdown, and also 2 rushing. So that was a pretty impressive weekend slate. Brent, is there any of those games maybe or anything that you saw that you wanted to make sure we took a second to highlight?
No, I think I'm going to go shorter on the dudes and dogs this week. I'm just going to do my dogs.
Give it up.
But so we're going to shorten the group just for this week. And we kind of already talked about it, but we're going to stick with Caleb Williams and Michael Pennix from Washington. Caleb, another really good game. At this point, he's 15 touchdowns, no interceptions, 1,200 yards. He's outside of an injury. He's guaranteed to go to New York And then Michael Pennix, another 400 plus, bunch of really, really nice throws. I think they just have so many possessions in a game that like Cal's just going to get the ball enough times.
It's like playing NCAA football. They're just going back and forth and back and forth.
Like they can't feel bad about 32 points because say they scored on they scored 4 touchdowns. Like they might have had like 15 possession, like could have been a crazy number. So
and the drives are quick. They're chunk plays after chunk plays. But Michael Pennix is sneaky putting together an all-timer.
Yeah, he right now might be my one. He's just so excited. I really like the way he's playing, and I think that they're not just playing for stats too. Like that team wants to freaking win. I know they have some big games coming up, but yeah, those are my 2 dogs right now. Pennix and Caleb, and we'll kind of dive into it more. TLT 3 next week, but keep it a little bit short for this week. It's just those 2 that are kind of dominating. And you talked about Drake May, talked about Quinn Ewers. Quinn Ewers really would be the 3rd if I was going to throw him in there, but Pennix, Caleb Williams, Quinn Ewers. I did think Sam Hartman played better than Kyle McCord. I know I had him in my honorable mention last week. I guess we'll keep him in the honorable mention. And Shador just looked, I think it was more of an offensive line thing, but they looked overwhelmed. We talked about it. The size was just a huge problem for Colorado.
They have no offensive line. Colorado ranks on Pro Football Focus. Everybody listening last week knows I'm a big Pro Football Focus guy. They ranked all 133 teams on all sorts of things, right? And they give everyone team grades. Colorado ranks 10th in the nation in run defense. And when it comes to pass blocking, Colorado is actually ranked pretty decently, but in that game, they received one of the worst in the entire week of the entire nation of the 133 pass blocking. It was a putrid performance. If anyone got to watch it, poor Shador Sanders, for all his talent under pressure, was running around just getting, attacked.
Something I didn't realize going into last week that was pretty slept on. He led the country going into that Oregon game and most quarterback hits taken. He had 55 hits taken through 4 games last week.
It's unsustainable. I mean,
then he got killed in Oregon. So it's like,
yeah, you got to protect that. We want to see the best players be healthy, and that's not going to keep him healthy. That's a scary, scary number to see or hear out loud. I don't like thinking that that's going to keep up, because that's
55 in 4 games. It's tough to continue to brush yourself off. You go play after play, and I think it affects you a little bit. I mean, it happened, we'll get into my ECFL time, but my second year with Granite State right here, the second helmet in the tower this week. We had some offensive line cycling in and out, and after a while it kind of, affects your reads a little bit. It's like, do I really want to sit in on a post curl right now when I'm potentially going to get freaking smacked? Or maybe I'll just get out of the pocket. I'll go find something else. So, Shador, the more he takes a punishment this year, I'm worried that by the time we get to like the USC game, what do we say, late November? Like, I'm hoping
it's November 4th.
He's not seeing flashes and he can still sit in there like he was earlier in the year. But I think we're quarter of the way through the college football season now. Do we want to get into some predictions for playoffs? As we want
to predict the playoffs? Yeah. We're gonna put on our best Condoleezza Rice outfit and give ourselves a vote for the college football playoff. People sleep on that, guys. Condoleezza Rice has a vote for the college football playoff. So does Oliver Luck, Andrew Luck's dad.
What's her connection to? I know she's a big, like she was on the Manning cast last year for a Monday night game. Is she a big football fan, Condoleezza Rice?
Yeah, and I think they just gave her a vote. I don't know. Like,
I want to vote.
Wonder if I can find a list of the voters and we can talk about some of the weirder ones. But
how does Condoleezza? I mean, I guess she's a politician. I'd love a vote. I will not throw my vote away. If there's any college football playoff committee members,
if there's anybody out there not doing their jobs, feel free to find people that will do their jobs. Like every year in every sport, there's people that throw their votes away, and it's always putrid to see. Like MVPs in all sports, there's always someone throwing their vote away. Actually, I don't think Condoleezza Rice has a vote anymore. I think it's gone now. She had one for a little while. It looks like it's over now. She's not a part of the 2023 selection. It's a lot of people that look like people that would have a vote, if that makes sense. It's a lot of old.
I know exactly what they look like. We won't say it. Pat McAfee will say it. The old whites.
Yeah. They're,
hopefully that didn't make too big of a noise. This microphone just like threw itself at me.
How dare you?
What do you got? Number 1 seed. Who's getting to the playoffs?
Yeah. All right. So like if the season ended right now, I guess I give the number 1 seed to Florida State, right? Like they've beaten the best teams, right? They beat Clemson and they also beat LSU and they've looked pretty solid. At the same time, like I don't feel great about giving the nation Florida State as the number 1 there. I kind of want to give it to my number 2. Do you want me to go right into my number 2 or do you read the whole thing? What do you want?
Yeah, you can go for sure.
I think I would either give the number 1 to FSU and the number 2 to this team, or I would flip them. But Texas beating Bama in Bryant-Denny by 10, like I don't know how you don't give Texas like the kind of nod to be the best team in the nation after something like that. Like Bama struggled against USF or whatnot and Ole Miss a little bit, but like they're still Bama, and Texas looked great. So I would go Florida State, Texas, Georgia 3, and then my Buckeyes 4. And I think I'm doing that because Georgia beat Ohio State last year, and I'm trying not to like universe jinx myself here with some nonsense. So yeah. But what's yours? I think it's got to be similar, right?
It's a pretty dang similar makeup. Similar concerns, but just because the schedule's so bad, I was looking at Florida State earlier and just not impressed with the schedule they have the rest of the way out. They put Miami, but Florida State probably wins the conference. Hard to keep them out. Georgia, kind of similarly, they play Ole Miss, who just lost by 14 to Bama. So I'm not exactly certain how they're going to keep up with Georgia. Georgia's another one that, like, my first 2 teams I don't really love. I don't like putting teams that I don't love in there, but they're just so stacked. And I think Carson Beck is kind of a interesting, maybe a Kyle McCord type. Like, don't know if he's their perfect guy, but he's their guy, so they have no choice. But honestly, I think that these 2 teams, 3-4, you had alluded to, Texas. Actually, when I first wrote this morning, I had Oklahoma, but so to be a politician, the winner of the Red River rivalry will get in. But okay. Texas, I think, will win the game, but Dylan Gabriel in Oklahoma is certainly capable. The winner of the Big 12, I think, will get in. And just before I get to my last one, and the reason why I don't have the Buckeyes in, I fear the war of attrition. I am worried. You talked about Drew Aller. I don't want to talk about that school from up north. I'm not going to say the name on this podcast. That's going to be a podcast rule, I think, probably. There's no M's.
No mention.
No M's. But I don't know. I'm worried that those teams are all going to misrepresent the Big Ten. Like, Michigan's going to lose to, oh boy, I already broke the rule. Wrist slap. That school up north maybe loses to Penn State. Penn State, I'm hoping not, but maybe they get a piece of Ohio State. I'm worried that everyone's going to kind of get a piece of each other, and then Ohio State, I think, is going to wax one of them. So if they all have one loss, and then my 4th team, Oregon, if Oregon goes undefeated, it's tough. It's going to be tough to keep them out. And Bo Nix is playing it.
You think Oregon's going to beat USC right now?
I got Oregon right now. So the way that this is not your grandfather's Oregon, I do not think. With Bucky Irving and the other running back you talked about, 6 yards per carry. They have a real football Division I offensive line that I think can make problems if they go play big time football. I don't want to jump the gun with Dan Lanning, but Dan Lanning's got that team in his pocket right now. They're a similar one. So just like Ohio State probably could copy paste that conversation, Oregon's got to go USC and Washington. So if somebody can get out of there 2-0, welcome to the playoffs. But the Pac-12 could very easily chew its own foot off again, like the Big Ten can. So I'm a little
They do love doing that. They do love doing that. All right, so we'll call that some of our predictions as of now. Before we kind of jump into our next thing, and I'm excited that we get to do this. This is sort of going to be our first interview segment. I think this is where the real magic of the show will come in. I just wanted to highlight basically 3 quick things. One, we didn't talk any NFL, and that's because if you let us talk ball for an hour and a half, 2 hours, we will, and no one's going to listen. So we can't do that every time for 2 straight hours. That will become too much for the people. And we are hoping we can maybe record like an NFL episode at some other moment to kind of highlight some of what happened last week with the Pats getting their first win and with the Cowboys getting their first loss. It could be a good reverse episode where I'm super upset. But 2 big weekend notes. Swift, people asked us. I actually got 2 texts about it. Someone was like, "Yo, dude, are you guys going to talk about it?" LOL.
Of course.
I was like, "Wow, yeah." I guess we could briefly mention it.
Why not? It's biggest story in football right now.
What a world we live in. I gotta say, Travis is the perfect guy if you had to hand select an NFL player to date the most famous person alive, because she's probably the most famous person alive right now with her tour that just happened and everything.
She's going to Europe too. Yeah, she probably is a top 2, maybe not 2. Like,
right,
Q-rated person in the world. Like, people, she's a superstar. She's a megastar. You see the videos of just how many people were outside of her suite? Like, that was upset. Like, people can't let her live.
No, she gets like a 19
hanging out with somebody she's seeing's mom and trying to enjoy herself. And it was cool to see her enjoying herself, man. Like, I don't know, like, it's cool to see people get away from their comfort zone. Like, how much time does she spend in recording rooms and, stuff like that? Like, I think I had one from Travis Kelce. Yeah, here's a quote from Travis Kelce. She looked amazing. To see the slow motion chest bumps, to see the high fives with mom, it was definitely a game I'll remember. Like, she was loving it, man. It was cool to see. So I don't know how real it is. I know that he kind of confirmed it, and they drove off in their cool convertible. But the internet, dark place. Some people think that it's all for publicity, but I don't know. Donna Kelce with some serious fake laughs that made me think that was a mom trying to like impress a potential girlfriend.
Yeah. Like, I don't know. It feels real. I don't think it's fake.
Feels very real. So the Jets sold out this weekend, and supposedly season tickets have bumped for the Chiefs. Like,
oh my
God,
her
fan base is nuts. It's crazy. I have a unique perspective because, not that I'm a Swiftie, but maybe honorary Swiftie, because girlfriend and their whole family is just massive Swifties. They went down to MetLife and saw her in June, I think it was.
Not cheap.
But like, just to see like the meshing, like 2 total opposite ends of the internet, just like clashing this weekend, and it was kind of hilarious. But
do you have a favorite Swiftie song, Bren?
Don't Blame Me. Don't blame me.
That was a fast answer.
Check it out. I don't want to, since we're talking positive, spew anti, but like a lot of the songs, to be objective, sound very similar.
That was such a fast answer.
Mike, Don't Blame Me. Don't Blame Me sounds nothing like any of her other shit, and it's like kind of awesome. Like, I could just put that on and forget that it's her. So shout out, Don't Blame Me, T Swift. I do realize how quick that was. Yikes.
Oh my God. I was gonna go with Love Story because I just feel like it's fun to sing along to. But
you got to come down to a Providence game. You ever send you the videos of the Providence kids singing that? Is that their song? Dude, that's our jump around. Like, second half, like leading into typically the last. Do you know what's funny? This is the only positive thing I'll say. This is an anti-Ed Cooley podcast. But Coach Cooley was so good at playing into when they would play it. He called timeout leading up to the TV timeout, knowing that that's the next thing they're going to play, and the student section would just, like a volcano, erupt.
All right.
Just going absolutely crazy. So, yeah, Providence is sneaky. I think she's got a house in Newport as well. She's right down the street. Taylor Swift.
She's a New Englander. We like that. All right. So, yeah, love that. Glad we addressed it. And if you like it or not, Travis Kelce, Taylor Swift stuff will be literally everywhere. So all you have to do is open your phone. But why don't we jump into a little bit of this last part here, right? So we teased it. Our one and only first ever guest will be joining us now. And boom, here he is. Our first ever guest on the TLT show is going to be our own Mac. It's going to be on Brendan McGinnis. I was about to say your middle name, but I don't know it. I think I know it, but I wasn't confident.
Take
Is
one
it
guess.
Kevin?
Take one. Yeah, there we go. Nailed it.
Let's go.
That was
Big
nice. That was good stuff.
time. That was
I was,
big time. That wasn't rehearsed, by the way, people. That's easy to sound rehearsed, but it's not.
I was actually going to try and figure out how to keep quizzing you without just sitting here guessing names for the next 5 minutes. That was awesome. That was good stuff.
That was great. So yeah, Bren's gonna be our first one up. He's just gonna talk a little bit about everyone has their own journey with mental health, ups, downs, and everything in between. So he's just gonna take a second to kind of talk about that itself. But Bren, first, just before we get into that, I know we have something we're excited to announce to the folks. Why don't you announce it? It's kind of something you were able to help set up with us.
Yeah, absolutely. So officially it'll be October 14th. So it's probably going to be TLT. What are we on 2? It's probably going to be the 4th one. So we are going to be having TLT live. We're going to be going on a road show. Officially confirmed today. Me and Mike are going to go down to Army West Point, and we're going to go see one of my good friends, former college roommate, former Merrimack College linebacker, Colin Kenyon, who's on the strength and conditioning staff now at Troy University. So we're going to go down. We're going to watch Troy and Army play. We're going to do some sort of road show. We're going to try and do it live on the campus of Army West Point. I've kind of been trying to logistically figure that out on who the hell to reach out to.
We'll figure it out.
Like, I don't know what the policies are. Like, at minimum, we're going to walk around and talk to the cadets. We're going to do something before we catch up, but we're going to have Kenyon join us. Shout out to CK for getting us tickets. Just texted him earlier to confirm that, but so the boys are hitting the road. I'm fucking pumped. That's going to be awesome.
It's going to be amazing. Yeah. Who would have thought? It's going to be unbelievable. We're going to get to interview an actual active college coach. That's going to be pretty cool. We've got some other stuff that we're not prepared to tease yet that we're working on. But we've got some more exciting guests down the line that we're hoping people will really enjoy listening to, and that can provide some wonderful interview, right? Like, let's hear some people's stories, right? Isn't that the fun of all of this? Sports connecting us all together.
I could probably partially from there. I can say that the next guest for the following TLT will be a massively impactful figure in the Big East. That's what I can say. Big figure in the Big East. So we get to do this together. This next segment is going to be really awesome. We'll pretty powerful, and then we'll go to New York following next week's episode, and then we're going to talk to someone that I'm pumped up. I gotta confirm that. I don't want to say it just yet, but Big East basketball, man.
What a tease. Did you practice that tease in the mirror? That was well done. That was well done, young man. That was unbelievable. All right. Perfect. So, this is normally the part of a podcast where they kind of cut and they jump into the interview. So there we go. That was me cutting. But why don't we just jump right into it, Bren? So I don't really think I have any way to kind of set the stage. I think the floor is yours. Why don't we just let you have this, and I'll chime in when you're all done, and we can kind of debrief about it a little.
Yeah, definitely. So if people would bear with me, if I'm gonna try and keep my my P's and Q's together, but this will be this is something pretty important to me. But so as we're talking about sorry, just had something pop up. So I'm living down here in Providence, Rhode Island now. So I'm getting my master's in higher education and studying sports leadership. So kind of had the opportunity to very, very introspective major. How do you create a better community for kids, and how do you kind of improve the lives of your student athletes and students on campus. So have gotten to do a lot of introspective work, and it's kind of helped me reflect on my journey to where I've gotten here today. But kind of even before that, man. So September is Suicide Awareness Month, and so for the last bunch of years, we've just had too many suicides with student athletes. So just over the last 7 years, we've had 35 cases of student athlete suicide. So, just kind of as I get into this, wanted to share my story because I think I've, been able to cross paths with so many people, whether it's from coaching or teammates or, people I've been able to teach or friends, family. And, I think, Mike, we've talked about it, like we all kind of go through our own things. But, for me, my journey has kind of taken some different waves, as not going to get into kind of the all the ebbs and flows, but from we talked about earlier, commit to Dartmouth, and then from there, go on to Merrimack and leave, do a year and a half at St. A's. But so pretty much from, not sure a lot of people know it. So from was coaching at Plymouth State University, left and took a job at the University of New Hampshire, a place that grew up loving, and so from was a coach there for essentially 6 or so days until COVID came through and canceled our spring ball. And then the opportunity was no longer there to be assistant quarterbacks coach and a graduate assistant there. Incredible opportunity. Still thankful to Coach Mack and Coach Santos was going to be the quarterbacks coach getting over there. But so for the first time in kind of my life, I had kind of a chance to step back. So, wanted to play my 5th year of football. And I think athlete identity for so many people, for so many student athletes, it was just from a young age, it was just such a big part of me. And it kind of was a way that, it was kind of my outlet. And so I first read an article Hayden Hurst had written something in 2020, late 2020 in December, I believe. And he was talking about reading from someone else and kind of learning about living with depression and anxiety, and kind of from him reading and learning through that, kind of learned for himself. And so for me, that was kind of when my self-awareness of my own mental health kind of came forward, kind of finally realized it's like, oh man, like that sounds dangerously familiar to what I'm going through. And kind of we'll get into it, but such an incredible support system in my life. And I think that mental health is such a scary thing because it can kind of take you away from, who's in your corner and kind of what's most important. But just to share with you and Mike, you were, I think, the second person to know literally in my life. But so get let go in 2020. In about January 2021, had an incident where there was had put together a plan in my head, and on a Friday night in January had an attempt to take my own life. And for whatever reason, it didn't go. And it's something that had the opportunity to talk to my mom and sister today, and kind of talk to them about it, and just my bad.
You're good, babe.
It's something it's flipped my perspective so much to I'm going to read an article here from Kevin Love in a second, but having had planned that and attempted that, it makes me sad, and obviously a little bit not shameful, but, I think, it's just so important to share this because I waited 11 months, Mike, to even tell one person. I didn't tell, me and Elizabeth are coming up on 10 years this December, and I waited 10 months, 11 months essentially to even let her know. And, so just kind of silently was going through it on my own. And, I think just being an athlete and kind of growing up, it was kind of how I had always kind of you know, channeled my energy into football, and kind of that was where I could, not be put, everyone does. You get put into a box by people, and you're this, that, the other. And football for me was from a young age, a way that I could channel that. And so I remember being 6 years old, and I was actually at University of New Hampshire, and this is when I kind of had found my thing. So we were at UNH tailgating. All my uncles went there, and so Ricky Santos and UNH win a huge playoff game, round one, and that was kind of where I'd seen the power of community and football, and like just people hugging, and that was something like a little kid. One of my first cognizant memories, just like, man, like we can bring people together like that. And so that was something I wanted so much. And seeing Tommy's competitiveness at a young age, like it's like, man, I put 18 or 15 years in a row together of, it's like, how can, channeling my energy into playing football and kind of trying to bring people together. And, we got to do that in high school, and seeing, board members and family members and just smiling and laughing. That was something that literally from a kid, I dreamed, like, I want to go do that in college. Like, I want to be up on the stage like Ricky. I want to bring that to this community. I want to, and, so when things don't work out the way you expect them to, um, incredibly blessed to have played college football. Didn't go the way that I had expected. But once that was gone, it kind of left a little bit of a void for me. So I'm going to read from Kevin here, because I think he put it great. So Kevin Love wrote this in 2021 to the Players Tribune, and he was writing about he had learned what he was going through, suffering from depression, anxiety, and from watching a Robin Williams documentary. But he talks about that resonated with me so much. Ever since I was a kid, I'd often put myself through hell in the hopes of numbing my mind. I used to think of it going into my pain tank. If I wore myself out to the point of exhaustion, then I'd be mentally empty too. If I had to wring myself out completely at the end of the day, so I was just blank, making other people happy, helping other people along the way. Everybody goes through mental health issues, Kevin adds. Everyone has a unique story. And for me, this is Kevin. His entire identity was tied into one thing in a really unhealthy way. Before he was in the NBA and college, his self-worth, for him, he said, was all tied into performing, and that was what he did. And I think, similarly, it kind of ties over to my story, but more was just, I have such amazing people in my life, and I do apologize to anyone that, there's so many people I wanted to tell before this, and I should have told before this, but, man, I'm hoping just sharing this. I hope I don't think this story is for everyone. And, if this is, if this is not for you, that's on me, but I'm hoping that this 1, 2, 3 people sees this, that are going through something, and you can text me. I'm going to put my 603-421-4957. Like give me a call. And, it's just, it's part of me and part of my perspective. And, it's something that, can't help but think about 2, 3 times a day, where, I'm thankful that, Mike, we didn't almost get to do this podcast. I didn't almost get to go to Ireland next week. I didn't almost get to come down to Providence College and meet all these incredible people. And man, it makes me sad that I'm not out of the clear for sure, still living with high functioning depression and anxiety, and there's incredible days and weeks where I'm good to go, and then there's days that you can't really control it, and just even something silly will kind of send you into a spiral. And but I'm hoping just sharing this and kind of touches someone. And I know that just from me kind of hearing about mental health and kind of there's so many avenues. I've tried therapy, and now working with a professional coach. Shout out to a former athletic director, but he's really helped me a lot. But I think whether it's seeking therapy or there's going to see your friends, family, whatever it is, I regret not reaching out to people earlier, and I'm glad that it didn't affect the results of this story, and we're here, catching up now. But you can always call 988 is the suicide hotline as well. You can call one of us, text one of us, but yeah, man, it flipped my life for sure. And I think the timing of it, I think of Vin all the time, because that happened in late January of 21. And our friend Vin tragically passes in March, I think it was. Man, loved him to death. And so, we wish he was here, but man, I'm convinced that seeing Vin at the wake was significantly impactful, I think, in my not that it just flipped a switch and I was on the road back, but that was where it was like, man, I had attempted the same thing, and I could have been right where Vin was. And now, man, I missed him so much, and I'm so it really brought a lot of reflection, and I've thought of sharing this for so damn long, man. There's so many different plans, Peds. Like, I had one time I was at the beach and I was going to do a live on the beach, and I was going to do one last year, and really it breaks my heart because I was going to do one last June or last May, is
Just share the story right there.
Mental health awareness month. And the day before our July, or the day after our July 4th party, one of my wide receivers from Granite State took his life. He had two beautiful daughters. And so, he one of his last comments on Facebook, he tagged me in a video of a receiver going to bat for his quarterback, and he literally was like, ride or die for life. So I wish I could have shared my story with Khalil, and it wasn't too late. But I'm so eternally grateful for every day when the sun comes up, and get the opportunity to to speak to you, and we get to do this. Go back, work with high school kids, get this master's degree. Man, so many friends I'm thinking of right now. Like, I wish I had told them before we even got on this, but this was kind of the outlet that I could, make it happen. So just know, if you listen to this, love you to death. And, that's kind of you know, that's I think that's what I got.
Well, we don't have an audience to clap, Bren, but I'd imagine anyone listening right now is echoing my sentiment that first, thank you for having the courage to share that story. And second, I'm sorry that you were ever in a spot where you felt alone like that. What you said, I think, echoes for a lot of people, that the mental health, the hardest part of it is that it can really make you feel isolated, right? You could even be a person who knows you have people you can talk to, right? I think everybody has at least somebody, if not some buddies, but even if you just have one person, but when you're going through those moments, you feel like you're on the island all alone and that the weight of the world is on your shoulders. So I'm sorry that, that you were ever in that situation. But like you said, I'm very thankful that we get to do this. I'm very thankful that you're still a part of our lives. I love you. And that support group of people that that is all behind you loves you. And to, like Bren said, this is not a unique story, sadly, right? There's other people out there who deal with mental health issues. I deal with my own mental health issues on an everyday basis. The thing that I think we would both echo to any person listening is reach out. Don't ever be afraid to talk to someone, to find help. There is no stigma around it. I talk to my therapist, Brian, every other Thursday. And the only reason I talk to him every other Thursday is because I think I'm going to annoy him to death if I talk to him on a weekly basis with how much I talk. So I give him a week off, right? I talk to him every other week. His name is Brian. He's the man. If anyone needs help finding a therapist, if anyone needs someone to talk to, if anyone doesn't even know where to start this journey of, hey, I don't feel great, what should I do? Hit us up, DM us, text us, find a way to get a hold of us in any way, shape, or form. Talk to your loved ones. You'd be surprised how quickly you could turn to a loved one and find out that they too have been there, that have lived your life before, maybe been in your shoes. Everyone's unique. Kevin Love said it, everyone's unique and everyone has their own struggles, but everybody deserves a chance to be heard, to be listened to. And especially if you're somebody listening to this right now, we are hoping that this platform can both be an outlet for fun, identity, conversation, sports, right? This is what we do. This is what makes us us, right? That's why I'm wearing a freaking Orioles jersey, because Brooks Robinson wanted to honor him because he passed away the other day, right? Like, we want to be this coming together, this sports community that sticks behind and next to each other at all times. And it's too hard to do life alone. So feel free to reach out to us, to come to us. Bren, I know how hard that was just from the look in your eyes, but I just want to say truly thank you. I know there's got to be no easy way to do that. And I know you said you had thought a lot about different ways to present that info to people. I hope you don't think of it as people being upset that they're finding out this way or that way. I hope and I feel free to speak for everyone when I say this, that they're all just happy that you got a chance to share this and that you are still here with us, because we love you. You're one of the nicest and most genuine guys I know. Yeah, I mean, come on, right? Like, you're Mac. You're the guy. That goofy grin right there. Who's going to be the quarterback on the other team at Thanksgiving?
Yep. Mac and Bees, man. Yeah, I love you, man. I appreciate just the opportunity to share this. And it took man, I mean, it just to let people know. I mean, it's like, yeah, we've been there. Took a long time to tell my family. I mean, the first two people I told is, I said it took a year to tell Elizabeth, and then I think it was another like a year before you found out. And I think you were the first or the second person outside of Elizabeth. But yeah, man, I'm just love life, and anything that I can do to, I'm praying that this reaches one or two people that's going through it.
Yeah.
And please reach out if counseling's not for you. The therapy's worked out for Mike so far. Therapy, wasn't the avenue for me, but there's just so many different ways to go about it. And you kind of find your outlet, and we're tackling life together. That's what this thing's about, man.
That was beautifully said there to wrap it up, I think. Well, Bren, I say thank you. I didn't. Nobody asked you.
Yeah,
You came to me with this idea that it being the month and that you wanted to share this story, and I think you delivered it really powerfully. And I think it will touch at least one person, if not many people, with the way that you're hoping. So, I think that's a wonderful way to kind of to slide into the ending here. Once again, we need a song to kind of slowly outro us out. So if anybody out there can sing, please, or play the piano, where we're calling upon you to record a song for our outro, or just people could just tell us to sing and we'll try our best. Yeah. I don't really have anything. Bren, you got anything exciting you want to talk about? You're going to Ireland next week. I can't wait to raise a pint of Guinness with you when you're we're gonna have our first Watch Out International Hold It podcast. Yup. Gonna be amazing.
Yeah, so we will figure out the internet situation over there, but we will definitely be doing TLT 3 internationally. So I'll be in Ireland for the week, and then I'll be back. And we touched on it a little bit ago. We're pumped up to go to New York and go see my buddy Colin Kenyon. And then we got another good guest after that. So we're gonna keep on chugging and telling stories and trying to bring people together and tackle life together. So much love to anyone who made it this far. Beads, love you, buddy. Another successful one. If anybody has any thoughts, you made it this far, let us know. Good, bad, the ugly, what we can do better. I will see you all. I'll be in Ireland. Mike will be in Boston doing his thing.
I'll be here in Boston.
We'll talk to you guys next week.
We love you. Peace.